Hey First Pres, What's Up is coming to you from First Presbyterian Church in York, Pennsylvania, providing pertinent and helpful information, inspiration, and encouragement in these challenging times.
Welcome back to Hey First Pres, What's Up? I'm Guy Dunham, your host for today's program, and it is my pleasure. I have been waiting for this moment to introduce Delass Johnson as our guest. She's Director of College and Youth Ministries here at First Presbyterian Church. Delass, thank you so much.
Thank you, Guy, for having me.
Oh, it's my pleasure. We're going to learn a lot about you today.
Oh, God.
You haven't been here very long, have you? About 6 months, is it?
Actually, time flies. It's been just about 7 months.
7 months now?
7 months.
Well, you're not counting the months, are you?
I am, literally, I am.
Because the kids are all home with you, right?
Yeah.
I
just
bet
something to do.
when you accepted this position, you had no idea the circumstances under which you would be.
I can't say that I did.
No, who would?
I can't. You know, this isn't something that you would just guess or imagine. Hey, 6 months into it, I'm going to roll you a real heavy ball.
Yeah. It's like the Lord was really testing you to see, okay, let's see what she's made of.
No, I wouldn't say test, but I will say I feel like everything that I've dealt with or done in the past has literally prepared for this moment.
Okay.
Yeah, so not necessarily a test because it's been great.
Yeah.
It's been great outside of, just knowing that we're actually dealing with a pandemic and people's lives are being lost, but just being optimistic in thought with everything that's happening.
Yeah. How are the kids doing?
Surprisingly well.
Yeah.
Yeah, no broken bones and no one's been to the hospital. But the kids are doing really well though.
That's well.
Yeah.
And you told me a few moments ago you were greeted by a snake at your window before you came in.
So my initial thought, you see a snake, you should call someone who can help you. I call my mom, who's in Baltimore, who cannot help me. And I'm like, there's a snake on the ledge of my window. She's like, why are you on the phone with me? Call animal control. I'm like, what do? I cannot get them off. Yeah, and I joked with her and I said, oh my gosh, if ever there was a moment that I missed, Baltimore, I saw snakes in my grass, but never on my bedroom window ledge. Where was he going? I opened the window and I let him know we're under quarantine. He needed to stay at least 6 feet away, and he was not respecting that. So.
Oh my gosh. Well, I'm sure he wouldn't do you any harm. Sounds like it was a classic Garner snake.
Probably so. And me being a classic overreactor, and I'm just like, get the broom, push him off the ledge, and we'll toss him back over into the the woods. But
he was just sunning himself.
Probably so. Sunbathing.
Yeah, they do that.
Yeah, it feels nice outside.
Yeah. Anyway, when you left for college, what was your major?
Oh wow, theater arts.
Was it really?
Really. Wow. Theater arts, which is a long way from, where I actually was when I completed.
Okay.
It was theater arts because I was everything from dancing to, poetry and writing, and I loved the arts. And so I felt like that's what I wanted to do. And of course I got to college, and college was different.
Yeah.
And began to really experience life.
Yeah.
And quickly understood that I needed to be working with people.
Oh, okay.
And so my major switched to psychology and then counseling. And for the past for about 15 years, I worked in the human services field.
And what did you do then?
Oh,
what
gosh.
kind of work did you do?
Social services work, and then eventually counseling.
In the city of Baltimore?
In the city of Baltimore, and Annapolis,
Okay.
and Glen Burnie,
Yep.
Maryland. But a lot of my work was done in Baltimore City.
Wow. And the more you worked in it, that's where you knew you wanted to be, at least at that point?
It was, and because my love for arts was always there, I started an after-school program for teens and like young adults, because I felt like there was a dire need to reach the hearts and the minds of the young people, and I needed to do it in a creative way. And I know that I'm just one person,
Right.
but I formed a small team, and we were able to do like a great deal working with the young people. So I loved it.
So you integrated your love and passion for the arts with your love and passion for people and helping them, and you were able to bring them together.
Absolutely. I started a nonprofit with the after school program, and
Right.
basically we use creative expression to address mental illness and mental health.
Wow.
And it was mostly our targeted population was African American teens, because it was in the heart of the city of Baltimore. And so although we dealt with teens from all different backgrounds and races and nationalities, the core of our youth were African American
Okay.
youth who were struggling, big time with whether it was, just the poverty within their homes and their community, or a lot of them felt like they were just being passed through the educational system.
Wow.
And just was another body in the seat.
Mm.
So giving them a voice and like getting them to understand that their voice is important, that their voice is needed,
Yeah.
and that their voice is necessary. And it matters.
We'll get to it a little bit later, but that really must come in handy in that experience and what you're doing now.
It does. It does, but then it's still just like I don't want to say a gap, but there's been a turn. There's been a shift because a lot of the youth that I'm working with now, I feel like we're learning so much from one another.
Okay.
Like we're learning so much from one another, but young people are young people, regardless of, their race or
Yep.
their background.
Mm-hmm.
Like the classic young person mindset is like, you don't know. You're an adult.
Yeah.
You don't know. You have no idea. And
Like
so
you never lived that life.
You've never been young. What are you talking about? Zion tells me all the time. He's like, Mom, you're old now. You don't know.
Oh, that must. Oh,
Okay, got it.
God forbid if in your mid-30s is old.
Oh my gosh.
I don't know what that makes me.
Oh my goodness.
I must have mold growing on me. Oh my gosh, yeah, but that's so classic at the way kids talk, to think that nobody understands
Right.
them, and you have to be patient with it.
Absolutely.
But it's harder when it's your own child. That must be
You
a
know
little
what?
more challenging.
I don't know. I guess so, because you have expectations of as your child, you have expectations
Yeah.
of them, but it's still just that mindset that this is a person, a young person, in age, but they still deal with all the same things that we deal with. They still have all the same emotions, all the same feelings, and even younger children are the same mindset.
Yeah.
They're people with all the same feelings and thoughts, and they're just younger in age.
Sometimes they don't know how to express it, but then even adults don't always know how to express what
Absolutely.
they're going through.
Even us as adults, absolutely.
And you think it's helpful for them, whether it's your child or the kids you're ministering to, that it's good for them to understand that you as an adult also sometimes have a difficult time putting
Yeah,
it
so
to words.
I'm completely open with them for that reason. And I've raised my children the same way, to
Yeah.
be open with them, just to see that, you know, mommy is human. Mommy is, you know, she's a person. And the same thing with the young people that I'm working with, like, they laugh sometimes when I tell them, you know, just different things that I'm doing or that I'm dealing with. I know we were in youth group about a week or so ago, and the night before I had been working on like a project at home, and so I stayed up late. And the next day I looked tired, and so Patrick is like, "Oh my gosh, Delass, you look so tired." Thanks. I'm like, yeah, I am tired. And then I went all into, you know, this is why I'm tired. You know, you guys talk a lot about how you've been staying up lately, watching movies and playing games, and you're tired the next day and you want to sleep all day. And then I'm still sharing with them, like, I'm tired, I stayed up late, but then I still woke up really early and I kept going, like my day continued.
Yep.
Yeah, so just being open with them.
I think that's awesome, though, that they were able to say that.
Oh, yeah.
To express that to you.
Yeah.
And not
I
like,
wanna-
well, I wouldn't bring that up. No, they
Yeah.
just did. Which probably says something about your relationship with them already.
Right. Yeah.
That's awesome. You're now pursuing a divinity degree, correct? From Howard University Divinity School. When and how did you sense God's call? Because that's a little different. It's similar to social work. I wanted to do social work. I actually went in college expecting that that's what I would do. I'd get my degree in sociology. I'd then get my master's in sociology, and then I'd go into, and voila. Although they're not unrelated at all. So obviously you had a switch, or at least a continuing revelation, maybe that's a better way to put it. So how did you sense God calling you to go beyond what you were already doing?
Yeah, we grew up in the church, literally lived in the church. And so I've always been a part of the youth ministry as a youth leader, team leader. And then my home church pastor came to me and he just was, you know, he let me know that, you know, he saw something in me that maybe I hadn't recognized myself, and asked me would I consider taking on the role of the director of the youth and young adult ministry. And I knew for some time that my role in the church had to go beyond just helping out. I literally, like, I had a dream one night, and it was so real.
Really?
It was so real,
Whoa.
God. And I shared with my mom the next day, and I told her that I believe that I'm called to preach. And she's like, oh, absolutely. You know, because around the house we would, you know, have the music going, and we're all singing and preaching and, praying, and it would always get really heavy. And so she asked me, she said, okay, so what are you going to do with it? I'm like, I don't know. I feel like I'm helping people now, and I don't really know where to go.
Yeah.
So, you know, talking to my home church pastor, and his first thing was, I'll give you a homework assignment. You need to first come to me, let me know what the difference is between seminary and Bible college, and where do you want to go with that? So if you believe God has called you, what are you going to do? Are you going to further your study so that you can grow deeper in relationship with God and to know where you're going in your calling?
Yep.
Or are you going to just take this calling and think that you're going to come into the church and preach? And I'm like, whoa, wait a minute. I'm going to find out what I need to find out.
Yeah.
And so I did. And it took me some time before I actually started seminary, but I did start work in ministry, just underneath of another pastor, working underneath of them, just to understand what it's like to pastor a church, what it's like to deal with the cares and the worries of the flock, the people of the church. And, you know, a few years went by before I actually got into seminary. And then when I did enroll in seminary, it was just as if God had opened so many doors, because just upon enrolling in seminary, I went from being, the director of youth and young adult ministries at this, at a fairly small sized church, to going to an even bigger church, and with this same title and the same role and position, but then my responsibilities grew, and it wasn't like I felt more prepared for the responsibilities that I had, and from that, even more opportunities open up to become the director of worship, and just someone saw in me something that I also understood and knew that God was doing in my life, but it was so real for me at that moment.
So your pastor did you a real favor, though, to help
Absolutely.
you discern what exactly you were feeling called to, and then the experience enabled you to go to seminary without being naive about what, bless you.
Excuse me, thank you.
We'll let people know you have allergies.
Yes.
So they don't get worried. We're okay, folks.
Yes.
Anyway, that you didn't go into seminary naively or for reasons other than really a sense of call, because I'm sure you've experienced that, at least I did in seminary. Some people that were in seminary, you wonder why they were even there.
Oh my gosh. There were so many people like in the, like within my cohort who are just like, there's this one young lady who's an atheist, and she just felt like she needed to know more.
Wow, that's a hard way to find out.
It is, and I mean, but that's the one thing that I can honestly say that I've really enjoyed about being like at Howard. There is a wide array of religious diversity, and just everyone's spiritual level. There are so many different levels.
Which is really where the world is at, is it
Absolutely.
not? I mean, when you come back out of seminary, it's not like you're living with a bunch of seminary students who are all on the same page.
Absolutely.
Wow. So it's been a real good experience for you then at Howard.
You want me to be honest, right?
Yes, of course.
So Howard is an HBCU, and I would love to say that it's been a great experience. Howard, the professors there are great, but I've had some hiccups along my journey with just, the whole financial aid process, and there being different scams and just things that have taken place. And so what I have been doing is I've been looking at Lancaster Seminary to transfer. Mm-hmm. So yeah.
So about how many more credits would you have to get then to actually?
The way that works is Lancaster will only accept, I believe it is 27 of my credits.
Okay.
So there may be some courses that I'll have to repeat, which I am absolutely okay with.
Okay.
Because I feel like I don't know everything.
Yeah.
And I learned it under one professor and with one understanding at one point in season in life. Mm-hmm. And here I am in a whole nother season in life with a whole different set of people around me.
Right.
And so what I take away from the course that I may have taken already would be completely different from what I took away from it before.
And that's a great way to look at it, Delass, quite frankly. I know when I went to seminary, I didn't know what I didn't know, and worse yet, I didn't know what I needed to know. Mm. So because I went practically right out of college, right to seminary, 1 year off. And I found a lot of people in my age group did the same thing, and we didn't know why we had to learn what we had to learn. Now I look back at it, it's like, maybe I should have listened. Bless you.
Thank you. Excuse me.
Maybe I should have listened a little closer. And one thing, although neither you or I would have gotten this kind of training, I had said the same thing to Kyle and to Allison, is they don't teach you how to deal with pandemics.
Oh my gosh, there's no preparation for it.
Mm-mm. Oh my goodness. Yeah, there's no, There's nothing. I mean, I don't think we even do disaster preparedness, anything.
You don't. But there was quite a bit of disaster preparedness training over the years in like the social services field.
You would have. You
Yes.
would have. And so whatever you didn't get in seminary, you were going to get through
Yeah.
that. Well, see, the Lord provided.
He prepared.
He knew you were coming here during a pandemic.
He prepared.
Oh, it's, yeah, it's something. So speaking of, and I just appreciate the fact that you could be so honest. That was the one thing when I first met you, I thought, this is a woman who just tells it like it is. and I like that. You know, now that you've been here, but you knew even before, that while we have a number of black brothers and sisters here at First Presbyterian, we have a history since the merger of '65. A number of the members from there have either died or they're children of those members. We have had people of color also come into our congregation since that time. However, we would be foolish to think or say that we are truly an integrated congregation. We are primarily white. I would have to say that in my work with the Council of Churches and when I got around a number of congregations here in the city, First Presbyterian, believe it or not, is probably one of the more integrated congregations in the city, but that's not saying much. You come from a very strong African-American Baptist tradition, and all that comes along with that, that's very important to you. And yet, you sensed God's call after you interviewed here. And I need you to tell that story if you're comfortable with it, what you told me about sitting in the car. You sensed God's call here. Sure. Why? You
know, Guy, just over the years with all of the church hurt that I experienced, I felt myself in this space where I felt like I was barren, like I was dry. And I needed God. I needed God's presence. I needed God to fill me up. And I had been praying and asking God to position me, to place me where he need me to be, where he can use me the most. And I interviewed quite a few times here, maybe about 7 times.
I can't believe that when you told me that.
But
I would have given up on a church by that time. You can't make up your mind. I mean, I've done enough interviewing over the years.
Every interview, I felt more and more full. Like I felt the Spirit of God, and with every interview. I mean, from my very first interview, I believe it may have been my 3rd interview, and I walked out the door and I was crying. There were tears that like overflowed my face, and my spirit felt full. There was this feeling that took over my body, and I had like goosebumps. My hair was raised on my arm, and I sat in my car. And
so you're gonna make me do it again?
Oh my gosh, I'm sorry. But I sat in my car. And I'm in the car, and I'm like, well, I can't sit in the parking lot because I don't want them to think like, who's this weird lady that we're interviewing? Why is she still here? So I pulled around over to the back parking lot, and I sat there, and I just began to bawl. I began to cry.
They figure you're just doing drugs or
something
like that.
See, I'm in the back parking lot. Who knows what she's doing? But I'm there, and I'm crying, and I'm praying, and I'm just like in this space where I felt God say to me like, this is home. This is it. And so the mindset that, yes, I grew up in a Baptist tradition, denomination, God looks past denominations.
Yeah.
And he looks at the relationship. He looks at the heart of the individual. And literally, that's what happened. I looked past the denomination, but I looked at the relationship that God was bringing me into, in a space where I'm among people who, and not just, white people or African American people, because there's only one race, the human race.
Absolutely.
God doesn't see color.
Right.
He doesn't see the color of our skin, but he sees the condition of our heart.
Right.
He sees our spirit. And so God placed me in this space where I'm among people whose mission is to follow Jesus everywhere.
Wow.
And it's just like he placed it right in my lap. Like, here, daughter, let me give you what you've been asking for.
Wow. Were you surprised at all?
I wasn't surprised, God, but I'm still in this space where it just seems so surreal.
Yeah.
Like, wow, God, you're doing what? This is happening? And for me,
yeah,
it seems so surreal, but not surprised, because, how could I say that I'm surprised when I'm constantly saying that God can do these things, that God will do these things. So it's not at all surprising, but it's just I'm in this space of constant gratitude.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I told you that from the very moment I met you, and I just knew God had called you, and then on top I felt so blessed because I've been a part of this congregation in and out for years and years, actually. And then finally when I retired, was able to settle here because Susan had already been a member and on session and such. And what I loved about the congregation was the fact that it wasn't at least 100% lily white. No judgment on congregations that are. Many that I served, there were no people of color in their community anyway. So unless they went out and recruited them and brought them in, they just were who they were. But I grew up in a community in New Jersey that was black and white and Spanish kids. And so I always felt a sense of loss at that point. And every time I'd come back here and attend here, and I could see black and white and Latino sitting together, it just brought joy to my heart. But when I got here, I realized that as much as I love this church, is that they were leaning a little bit too heavily on their merger of 1965 and think they'd done it.
Yeah, because we're in 2020 now.
Yeah, and I talked to and I know some people listening right now, this may be a little hard for them to hear, but they need to hear it. And I've shared this with you, is that some of our black brothers and sisters here, while they love everybody here and they feel a part of it, there's always been that sense of, but remember who really runs the church. It's the white people. And we may not understand that because we don't live that world, that white privilege, that we don't even know we're doing it. But what I loved about you is you don't mind speaking truth, and I'm not trying to put words in your mouth or anything, Delass, but I just knew in talking with you, because you have this wonderful sense of the fact that we're all one in Christ.
Absolutely.
And color doesn't matter, and 99.9% of our genes are exactly the same.
Oh my gosh, yes.
So it really doesn't, we're the ones who make, the boundaries and the differences, but the reality is in our culture, we've done things even in the church that have hurt our brothers and sisters, and we need to right that. We need to change that. We need to do things differently.
Right.
And I told you, I sense God called you here because you can bring voice to that. Now, that doesn't mean that your white brothers and sisters don't need to speak as well. And
right.
People in this congregation know Guy Dunham has not been hesitant to do that. But nevertheless, I believe God is calling us to be an example and a model to our community.
Absolutely.
But we got to learn to do it among ourselves.
Absolutely.
Before we can be talking about anybody outside of these four walls. Excuse me for the sermon.
No. Absolutely not. Please, bring it.
Preach it, brother, preach it.
Yes.
I find it exciting. It's an exciting time in the history of this congregation.
It is.
And God has that's why he gave you that incredible hunger before the search committee even said, we extend you the invitation.
Right.
God placed the hunger in you. And to me, that's incredible. That's so exciting. So, how's it going?
It's actually going really well.
Okay.
It's going really well. The kids, I don't know if they're just tolerating me They actually like me. I think they like me, though.
Most kids tolerate in the beginning. I used to be a youth pastor. I understand that.
I think we've gotten past,
They want to see if you're real.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what it is. And so, I mean, it's going really well. I believe that I've formed some really good relationship with some of the young people and even with some of their parents, which is important.
Right.
So I think I believe that it's going well. And, some of the feedback that I've gotten from parents and from young people and from grandparents and then from individuals who don't have a teen or college age child but have heard, what's happening. I've gotten some really positive feedback, so I believe that it's going really well. With everything that's happening right now and all of the challenges with ministry at a time where we're not able to come together in a physical sense, we've been really creative.
Yeah.
We've been really creative, and we've been successful in that creativity, because what's produced from that is we started a Bible study with the young people, and some of their questions, they're open. They're asking questions that are questions that would help them to understand not just what they're reading, but what they're reading and how it applies to them now. So, I feel like it's going really well.
And they're probably, because of their culture and where they are at their age, technology is so much more familiar to them. That's not a barrier for them to have to be doing this for right now.
Not at all. Not at all. I'm learning from them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because you're old.
Oh my gosh, because
Your
I'm
son
old
told
and
you
I'm
that.
not even a part of that. So yeah, but technology is not an issue for them at all.
Yeah.
Which makes it really cool, because that kind of just opens the door to more things that we can do.
And you know what, that's so exciting. It's come up in a number of the interviews, is the fact that part of the vision was for us to move into the technology that we've been neglecting. Bless you. And, I'm going to charge you after a while. And the technology that we needed to get into, and that the pandemic became kind of like God giving us the boot. All of us have been forced to move into it, i.e. what we're doing right now here in a podcast and live streaming and Zooming, whether it's a Bible study or some other kind of group.
Right.
So I'm just really glad that the kids have you, who you were willing to move into that and to be able to use it in a creative way. Because,
absolutely.
And it says a lot to them, I think, that you're hanging in there with them.
Absolutely.
You're not going to let that be in the
ministry continues.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that I know that for me growing up, when we got ideas of different things that we could do with the ministry, a lot of times it would always be like, no, that's not how we do things. But now we're in this space where how we would normally do things, our normal has been stretched.
Yeah.
And so for us to continue to reach people and to reach the people of our congregation and then people outside of our congregation, we have to stretch along with our normal. Yeah. We have to stretch beyond it.
Right. Where do you see the youth group going in the future when things kind of lighten up?
Oh man, I would love to see us continue to some degree some virtual activity and some virtual expansion of the ministry. We've just started with videos, so for us to continue to produce those videos, I think it would be great, because it reaches not just the people that are here at First Pres, but it reaches the people who are outside of First Pres and have no idea what's happening here.
Right.
And then for individuals who may have been a part of the youth ministry years ago and have moved away or just aren't coming anymore, it shows them what's happening. And it gives them an opportunity to, be a part of the ministry, whether they're physically here or not.
Right. And unfortunately, the aspect of your position with college ministry really is put on hold. There's nothing any of us, including yourself, can do about it, because right now there's nobody on campus and we don't know when they'll open up again.
Yeah.
But I'm sure that what you're learning here with the youth group will come in handy when things open up again and there's students on your college campus and Penn State campus and et cetera.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, it halts to a degree where I'm not actually able to get on campus, but some of our students, our college students, are home now. So still getting involved with them and getting them involved, I think is also going to be really key for us right now, because they reach a broader community.
Right.
So speaking to them now, getting started.
Yeah. And it's really important, isn't it, for our folks to understand that, I mean, you're part of the vision. I've said that before. One of the things that was loud and clear that we needed once again to have a full-time director of college and youth ministries. And voila, here you are. God had placed that desire in the heart of the people participating in the visioning process, knowing where God was going to move things and eventually to your call. Then we need to understand that the vision is still moving forward. We're just learning skills and certain things that we need to know when it continues to move forward.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
One of the things I did also want to mention is the fact that on the 29th of March, in this pulpit, you had one zinger of a message for this congregation. Once again, you did it to me. I'm sitting there at my kitchen table, and people think I'm just a blubbering fool. My wife already knows it, but I'm just sitting there. First I'm going, amen, amen. Then I'm crying, and it's like, holy mackerel. And it was about relationships, because you had mentioned that earlier in our conversation here, about how important relationships are, and the first being the one with Jesus. What does that mean to you, to be in that relationship?
Well, Guy, I shared a bit of my testament on that Sunday during the sermon. Yeah, you did. And I know for me, that relationship, it means life. Literally, it means life. Yep. I think the biggest thing I wanted people to hear and to understand is that there are going to be things that are frightening. There are going to be times that our heart may feel fearful. Yeah. We may have moments of doubt. There may be moments of discouragement. Those are all natural human traits. Right. But we are spiritual beings. Right. Being so, our relationship with Jesus Christ allows us to understand that even in those moments of doubt, in those moments of fear, in those moments where panic takes over and fills our body, God has the power to overcome, to supersede all of that. And it's not to say that we won't experience it, but when we experience it, we'll be a little more at peace as we go through, as we deal with, as we manage.
And I love the example, the scripture of Christ on the water and about who do you have on board.
Oh my gosh.
Inviting him to come on board with them.
That's so funny. At the time I was in my personal devotional, I was in 1 Samuel. And as I'm reading through 1 Samuel, and Pastor Kyle and Pastor Allison had given me my scripture topic, I'm like, wow. And it's late. It's 11:30 at night, but I'm excited. And then I felt like I couldn't sleep, and I'm just so excited. I'm just like, this relationship, that's what it is. This relationship with God will change everything about you. Like, yes, you're still going to have fear. Yes, you're still going to have panic. Yes, you're still going to have moments of doubt.
Yeah.
But when those things arise, like you'll be able to handle them differently. You'll be able to see beyond what, someone who doesn't have that relationship sees.
Yeah. And you shared, I was impressed. You shared a story of going back home and one of your family members saying you changed. And I felt badly for you at that moment, except I could identify it because I've heard that over the years from family. Who don't understand what's happening in us.
Right.
And that they saw a change, but they misunderstood what the change was, if I understood what you were telling us.
Yep.
So they misinterpreted what they were seeing and hearing. They saw it through their own lens, not the greater lens of God's eye.
Right.
So,
you're going to have that, though.
excuse me?
You're going to have that,
Yeah. Do you think some of your family members might be struggling a little bit that you came to a mostly white congregation to serve?
I can't say that they're struggling. My older siblings, I remember talking to them about, me being here, and one of my sisters go, wait a minute. You're at a predominantly white church? And I'm like, yeah, why? She's like, I'm just asking. I didn't know. And I'm like, what difference does it make?
Yeah.
God does not see, this color of your skin.
Yeah.
Or what your hair looks like, or, how you dress. That's not what God looks at.
Yeah.
God sees beyond that. Yeah. He's looking solely for your heart, the condition of that individual's heart. So, and I'm grateful because I've always asked God to let me be that way.
Yeah.
Let me have a heart after his.
Okay.
So.
And the other thing, what am I saying? Other than God not seeing it, on the other hand, God does see it, but rejoices in it.
In it.
Because
Absolutely.
It's his creativity.
Yes.
So it hurts his heart when people spurn his creativity, that we're different. We're different skin colors, we're different cultures, we're different features, we're different personalities. It's all part of God's wonderful creativity.
It's purpose.
And then we tell him, I don't like your creativity.
It's purpose, absolutely.
Yeah. And I think that's, once again, that's what I missed when I was with congregations who I love dearly. They're dear brothers and sisters. But because I grew up with that variety and that diversity, then I realized that when I didn't have it, how much I missed it. And what a blessing it is to have it in this congregation, for us to continue to rejoice in and become a model of celebrating God's creativity.
Right.
And so, wow.
It's funny. We have, in our Bible study with the youth, we are just coming out of the creation story. And so I've challenged them all to create their rendition, their vision, to do an illustration of the creation story.
Okay.
And so I am curious to see what they come up with.
I bet.
We'll see next week, though.
Some of it will be insightful, I'm sure.
I'm sure. Absolutely.
Yeah. And even if it seems, at first, some of it may even seem off the wall, and then we realize maybe it's not so off the wall. Kids have so much to give and to share, and even if some of it shows some naivety or lack of experience and such, it still shows the beauty of how God works with us, all of us.
Oh.
God says, when are you going to grow up? We're all growing up into Jesus. And I am just so glad to have you here. I know there's a lot more we can talk about. I've already warned Kyle and Allison. I'm asking them back. Well, there'll be more to talk about.
Absolutely.
I wish it weren't so, but I think we're going to be doing this for a while. Off and on. Maybe there'll be a while where it'll release, but everything they're telling us, it'll come in waves, and we may have to pull back again.
You know, Guy, my thought on it all is that, because so many people are saying, like, I'll be so glad when things go back to normal. And I've never known God to move us into a position, into a place, like, and then take us back into something. Why would we go back?
Right.
Like, our normal will look different.
Yes.
Not to say that things will never be normal again, but they'll look different.
Yeah.
And so just, you know, there's this constant prayer that we as a church body, we as the people of God will expel upon that, this new normal.
Yeah.
You know, that we'll grow to a position, in a position and in a place where we're able to do the work of God differently and reach, you know, different people, reach people that we were not able to reach before.
Well, I think even like what we're doing now, and the live streaming of the service, there are people now who can be exposed to First Presbyterian Church who never had been. They see these four walls, they see this majestic building. For a lot of people, it spells wealth and prestige and such. And while that may be part of our legacy, it's far from all of our legacy. And but if they can see us through the medium of the internet, it's a little safer. And then they can be open more to saying, you know, I want to know more about that church.
Absolutely.
I want to know more about those people. And then we're not quite so intimidating.
Right.
Which it can be for some people.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, we're in exciting times.
We are.
Challenging, but exciting times. Thank you, thank you, thank you so much.
Thank you.
You'll be back. We'll want to hear more about what's going on with the kids, and I know you have some other stories that you can share with us from your life, and we'll want to hear those as well. But in the meanwhile, thank you so much for being our guest here.
Thank you.
And, so folks, once again, that concludes another episode of Hey First Pres, What's Up? We'll see you next time, and until then, we are wishing you grace and peace in our Lord Jesus Christ.
Peace.
Oh, happy day. Oh, happy day. When Jesus washed. Oh, when he washed. When Jesus washed. He washed my sins away.